Do you have a Peter Pan business? I did for many years. And by that, I mean Peter Pan was running my business. Peter Pan, the archetype, also known as the puer aeternus in Jungian thought, which is one of my favorite types of thought. But anyways, when it comes to the puer aeternus, when it comes to the Peter Pan business, you may be there. I have seen a lot of other people I know, especially beginner entrepreneurs, solopreneurs, people who are making a go of it or attempting to online, or people with new businesses, period, who are exhibiting some form of Peter Pan syndrome when it comes to attempting to run their business. How does this show up? Peter Pan first, let's cover what is this archetype. It's essentially the product of a culture that has been underfathered. It's an archetype that is within us, that arises from being overly mothered, overly pampered, overly babied, given too many opportunities and not enough grit, not enough friction. And when things are easy, when things are good, this phrase, good times create weak men. Well, Peter Pan is a weak man. And it's not just applicable to men. It can also be an archetype that shows up in women, which would be called the puella archetype, the puer aeternus, the puella aeternus. This is an escapist inside of us, somebody who doesn't want to deal with the brass tacks of reality, that doesn't want to look at things as they really are and confront them. The Peter Pan in us doesn't like to deal with the fact that decisions need to be made, that things need to be cut away. Peter Pan likes to stay in possibility, the possibility space where everything could be, and where the ideals are more attractive than realities. Peter Pan is a dreamer. He's an artist, a visionary. He sees what really in the ideal situation we would do. But when it comes to actually having the ability, the fortitude to bring that into this reality, that's where the Peter Pan archetype will distract us and take us down wild goose chases, get bored easily, maybe think we need to go off in a different direction, try a different offer, try a different avatar, do something out of the box to break the spell of needing to just cook in whatever it is that you're doing. So this is a problem because it means that we never really grow up in our business. We never really cross the line. We never really decide to go all in. It just is this nice idea that maybe eventually down the road we'll go all in, or you can tell yourself you're going all in when really your behavior does not match that. And this comes down to even the most granular details that we really should be paying attention to but aren't. Like, what are our numbers that we need to hit every month? What are we measuring for success in terms of shipping offers or shipping products, shipping pieces of content? And we get into this headspace where we just wing it instead. And this causes us to never actually break through a critical mold that can only be done when we confront this archetype within us and decide to put him in his place. Now, he's not the enemy because he's actually the essential spark, the creative spark, the dreamer, the artist within us that we need to be able to come up with something new, something innovative, something real, something fresh. But if he's driving the bus, and particularly if he's acting as a protector part in our psyche, aka he is distracting us from something that is even deeper, which is usually some kind of wound, maybe not receiving the type of affirmation we needed at a critical point, or being actively discouraged from something that was bubbling up within us that was really authentic to us when we were younger, some kind of wound that we received Peter Pan can be standing in the way of us actually confronting that. And it comes a time in every entrepreneur's life and every person's life where they have to confront these previous wounds and become the type of person that they needed back then when they went through that initial trauma or struggle or trial, what have you. So there's this kind of circle that wants to get closed, that Peter Pan is getting in the way of us closing. Because often, if he's acting as a protector part, he's from a different time. He believes that we are in a different time. He believes that we are younger. He believes that we don't have the capacity, the ego strength, the ability to sit through and confront the pain, the shame, the wound that we originally had. So that's how Peter Pan comes into being, usually as a defense mechanism. But then he can just keep running his game, running his show, and acting like we never have to grow up. So if you have multiple offers that are confusing your potential audience, if you have multiple people you're trying to serve or you think you're about, if you can't seem to decide who you're for, if you feel like you should be just naturally recognized for what you have because other people have told you that you have a special, unique ability or gift, or there's just something about you feel, or perhaps people close to you feel should be recognized. Why isn't it happening, etc.? These are all signs of Peter Pan operating. What you need to do is activate the opposite archetype, I would say. Perhaps not opposite, but the countervailing archetype, which is the inner father, the strong inner father. And the reason why I've decided to call it the inner father, not the inner parent, is because often the Peter Pan syndrome arises from being overly mothered. And I think it's pretty difficult for most people to be able to differentiate the enabling inner mother and the strong inner mother, because there's a lot of mothering that goes on that tends to perpetuate and enable the Peter Pan to do its thing. So on the contrary, because Peter Pan arises out of a lack of strong fathering, a lack of fathering that is neither patriarchal or overbearing, but also not distant or detached, able to see the gifts and abilities you have, but also structure and contain them and give them form so that they can actually withstand the pressure of the world. We need that strong inner father to counteract or countervail or contain the Peter Pan and transform and integrate him into somebody useful in our psyche rather than the archetype running the show. Because when he's running the show, we never actually confront reality in the way that would be necessary for us to take the potentials we have and make them manifest for one specific person, one specific transformation, to be clear, to be certain, to make it absolutely just rock solid about what we're doing in our business and what we're doing in our life. We'll never get to that point if Peter Pan is running the show. Okay, so you need to take some kind of inventory around what's the status of my inner father? How do I feel about fathers in general? How do I feel about my relationship to my father? Do I feel like I'm able to emotionally contain? Do I have the ego strength, the capacity to look at what Peter Pan in my psyche might be standing in front of, aka what he may be trying to protect me from, what wound, what disability, what trauma that I may have had happen to me? Do I now have the strength internally to be able to face that? And how might I begin to contact this archetype? I created a workshop about this, by the way. The link will be in the description, because it's more than just a YouTube video. It's a relationship that you need to begin to cultivate with a completely different side of you who can sit down, look at numbers, look at things like a strong father would in a both encouraging, solid, slow, grounded way, but also a way that's very pragmatic and practical and can look at numbers and say, this is what we need to do. Here's the goal. That would mean we would do X, Y, and Z. This is what the cash flow actually looks like. This is what the bank balance actually looks like. This is how it actually is going to go when we start to do content. These are the deadlines, the commitments, the certainties, etc. That's the part on us that I think for many people who are writing business books or showing up on camera giving business advice, they just assume you already have. Probably because a lot of people who are successful in business had to become successful just by simple virtue of the fact that they were pushed at an early age to build this strong inner father. They didn't have the enabling, they didn't have the privilege or the opportunity, or perhaps the vacuum for a Peter Pan archetype to come up and take over. A lot of people who fall into the Peter Pan syndrome with their business or their life are enabled in some way to stay in that, whether it just be where they happen to find themselves geographically. Maybe they have a cheaper living situation, or they're still living with a mother or a family member that's allowing them to stay wishy-washy. Often the people I've seen have inherited money or just have a nice cushy job, but there's just something that's preventing the Peter Pan archetype from getting kicked out of the driver's seat. And that's something that the inner father will be able to look at and say, okay, we've got to cut this off. We've got to cut ourselves off of the teat, whatever it is, right? So just take inventory. If you are not where you want to be in your business, who is driving your bus internally? Is it the idealist? Is it the dreamer? Is it the one who prefers to think about all the possibilities, the options, who likes to be on your whiteboard looking at all the things you could do, all the offers, all the different avatars? Are you in research and planning mode? This is Peter Pan, because Peter Pan loves to be there. And believe me, I have fallen into that many times myself. Otherwise, how could I make this video, right? Because really everything I'm doing here on this channel is attempting to reach back to my previous self, who was mired in these types of archetypes, and give him a hand up so he doesn't have to stay there as long as I had to, right? It was only by connecting to the strong inner father, taking responsibility for developing that archetype within myself, and actually taking action from that place to look at the boring details of what it really means to cross the line in business. That was the only way that I was able to put Peter Pan in his place. Not to kill him off, not to eradicate him from my psyche, because I still need him. I still need him for art, for ideas. I still consult him. But he's in his place now. So just some food for thought. And there's a Substack article in the description where I go more in detail. But check it out. Check this archetype out. Where are you at? Where are you at with Peter Pan? Have you ever been called a Peter Pan? Have you ever seen yourself reflected in other people around you, other people who are making a go at business, and seen how the lack of specificity and the vagueness and the idealism is contributing to staying stuck in this little vortex? Just have a look at that. And if you need help with it, you can always book a call with me. The link will be in the description. We'll talk about how we can work with that and anything other things that are going on just from an internal point of view around making your goals in business actually happen, because it's an inner game. All right. So I'll see you again next week. Bye for now.